The company was so confident in its products that it literally renamed its corporate headquarters One Dependability Square. That was not a marketing slogan. It was a real municipal address in Newton, Iowa. For decades, its advertising featured a repairman so bored he played solitaire all day because the machine simply never broke down. That campaign ran for over 40 years because customers believed every word of it. Today, that same brand name is stamped on machines built in a Whirlpool factory in Ohio, carrying a 1.4-star customer review rating and generating class action lawsuits. We are going to expose how one of America's most trusted brands was hollowed out by corporate greed, and we are going to show you the only brands you should actually trust with your money. If you have walked into a Home Depot or a Lowe's recently, you might believe you are looking at 5 competing appliance brands. You see names like Amana, Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and JennAir. And you assume these are different companies fighting to build a better washing machine for your family. That is an illusion. Every single one of those names is owned by one corporation. Whirlpool Corporation controls all 5 of them, and independent lab testing has confirmed they share factories, assembly lines, and internal components. When the product testing experts at Reviewed.com put a Whirlpool washer, a Maytag washer, and a Kenmore washer side by side in the laboratory, all 3 assembled in a single 2.4 million square foot plant in Clyde, Ohio, they found the differences were almost entirely cosmetic. Identical platform, identical parts, different logo on the front panel. The Maytag costs roughly $100 more, and for that markup, you get a heavier looking exterior and a marketing campaign that trades on a reputation the company destroyed 2 decades ago. The average American family replaces a washing machine every 10 to 12 years, which means they will make this purchase maybe 5 or 6 times in their lifetime. And right now, most of them are paying a loyalty tax to a name that no longer means what it used to. But the story of how that reputation was earned and then deliberately demolished is one of the most outrageous tales in American business history, and it starts on a farm in Iowa. There was a time when the Maytag name meant something real. Frederick Lewis Maytag founded his company in Newton, Iowa in 1893. His first product was a threshing machine part, but his early corn husker was a disaster that broke constantly. The repair calls nearly bankrupted him. That failure became the founding lesson of the entire company. Frederick Maytag swore he would never again put his name on a product that could not survive hard daily use. When Maytag pivoted to washing machines in 1907, he was obsessed with building a product that would never need a repairman. By 1922, his revolutionary gyrofoam washer, which used a bottom agitator and water action instead of friction, made Maytag the #1 washing machine manufacturer in the United States. Production increased 300% in 4 years. The company survived every year of the Great Depression without posting a single annual loss. When Frederick Maytag died in 1937, an estimated 10,000 plant workers and salesmen formed a 5-block line past his casket. What made the Golden Era machines genuinely superior was not advertising. It was overbuilding. The Dependable Care top-load washers were built around a helical gear transmission with metal gears that appliance technicians describe as a mechanical tank. These transmissions routinely lasted 25 to 30 years. One technician cracked open a 1990s model whose transmission had run for 9 years with no oil at all, and it was still working. That is the kind of margin they designed into every component. The company used thick galvanized steel panels, porcelain-coated tubs, and heavy-duty motors. Most importantly, Maytag tested every single unit coming off the assembly line, not random samples like their competitors. Everyone. Enthusiast forums document machines from 1978 still running after more than 4 decades of continuous use. In 1967, the Leo Burnett Advertising Agency in Chicago created the character that would become the most effective appliance campaign in history. The lonely Maytag repairman, played by actor Jesse White, was so bored waiting for a service call that he played cards by himself. White filmed 68 commercials over 21 years. The joke worked because at the time, it was actually true. Consumer Reports consistently ranked Maytag at the top for reliability. The company could not legally claim their machines never broke, but the lonely repairman conveyed exactly that message, and it allowed them to charge a significant markup that customers were happy to pay. But then the executives decided that selling excellent washers was not growing the stock price fast enough. The unraveling began under Chairman Daniel Crum in the early 1980s. Crum looked at the consolidating appliance industry and decided Maytag needed to become a full-line manufacturer overnight. Between 1981 and 2001, the company went on an acquisition spree that would ultimately destroy the very quality culture that justified its prices. First came Hardwick Stove and Genair. Then in 1986, Maytag bought Magic Chef for $737 million in stock, a deal that nearly doubled the company's size and brought in Admiral and Norge. In 1989, Crum acquired Chicago Pacific Corporation for $961 million, primarily for the Hoover vacuum brand. That deal alone loaded the company with $500 million in new debt. And the Hoover acquisition turned into an absolute catastrophe when Hoover UK launched a promotion offering free round-trip flights to America with any appliance purchase over 100 British pounds. Over 200,000 people claimed the offer. Maytag took a $30 million charge in 1993 and eventually sold Hoover Europe at a staggering loss of $135 million. By the mid-90s, the company was spending more on interest payments for its acquisition debt than it was investing in new product development. The engineers who had spent decades perfecting the helical gear transmission watched as management diverted every available dollar toward paying off deals for vacuum cleaners and kitchen ranges. The company that had earned its name by overbuilding washers was now drowning in debt from deals that had nothing to do with laundry at all. But it gets worse. In 2001, Maytag bought Amana for $325 million. And this is where the betrayal of the customer truly begins. After acquiring Amana, Maytag started selling machines that looked like Maytags, carried the Maytag name, and cost Maytag prices, but were actually cheap Amana units assembled at a budget plant in Searcy, Arkansas. Consumers who paid a Maytag price for what they believed was Maytag craftsmanship discovered they had bought budget guts with a prestige badge. They coined a name for these machines. They called them Amanatags. The Performa value line quietly swapped in cheap Norge and Magic Chef drive systems. The Atlantis line substituted plastic tubs for porcelain. Across the entire product range, the helical gear transmission that had defined Maytag for generations was being replaced by the cheapest drivetrains from whatever budget subsidiary the company had most recently acquired. If a veteran of the old Newton assembly line had seen what was rolling off the conveyor, he would not have recognized it as a Maytag. Meanwhile, the Neptune front loading washer became the company's most public disaster. The rubber door gasket trapped moisture and created perfect conditions for black mold that transferred to clothing and towels. Consumers called it the Stink-O-Matic. The class action lawsuit covered more than 2 million owners and resulted in $33.5 million in settlements. Later, Neptune models were recalled entirely because water leaking onto electrical components could start fires. Over 250,000 units were pulled from the market. Separately, 2.3 million Maytag and Genair dishwashers were recalled for a fire hazard that caused 135 reported incidents. Between 2002 and 2004, CEO Ralph Hake cut new product investment by 50%. By 2004, Maytag posted a $9 million net loss, and Best Buy dropped Maytag laundry products from its shelves entirely, replacing them with LG. The company that had renamed its headquarters One Dependability Square was now carrying $977 million in debt, ranked near the bottom in customer satisfaction surveys, and had been abandoned by its largest retail partner. A brand that once meant your machine would outlast your mortgage now could not keep itself on store shelves. In 2005, Whirlpool swooped in and bought Maytag for $2.7 billion, including assumed debt. The Justice Department approved the merger even though the combined company controlled an estimated 48% of the American major appliance market. A Dartmouth business professor later demonstrated the consequences. Whirlpool raised washer prices by approximately 5% after the deal closed, producing an estimated annual consumer welfare loss of $250 million. The consequences for Newton, Iowa were devastating. Whirlpool announced it was closing the factory, the corporate headquarters, and the research center. Roughly 1,800 jobs vanished in a town of 16,000 where 1 in 4 residents depended on Maytag directly or indirectly. The last washers rolled off the Newton assembly line on October 25, 2007. 550 workers walked out for the final time. One 34-year veteran told reporters that if you cut the workers open, they would bleed Maytag blue. Unemployment spiked to nearly 10%. Jasper County recorded the highest unemployment rate of Iowa's 99 counties. Downtown Newton counted 12 vacant storefronts. Manufacturing wages in the county went from 37% above the state average to 20% below it. CBS 60 Minutes visited and called it the most broken town in America. One Dependability Square was eventually sold for $1.5 million against an assessed value north of $12 million. The plant has been partially demolished, and the J.D. Power 2025 reliability study tells you everything you need to know about what the Maytag name means today. Maytag top-load washers recorded 70 problems per 100 appliances. Whirlpool labeled washers recorded 71 per 100. That is statistically identical. You are paying $100 more for a logo. So if the entire appliance aisle is an illusion, does that mean you should give up on finding a machine that actually lasts? No. It means you have to stop shopping like a consumer and start thinking like a technician. Here are your 3 real options. First, if you can find a pre-acquisition Maytag dependable care washer from the 1980s or early 90s, buy it. These machines were made with galvanized steel and metal transmissions designed to last a generation, and many still have years of reliable service remaining. Check Craigslist, check estate sales, check your grandmother's basement. A Maytag from 1990 is almost certainly built better than anything in a showroom today. Second, look at Speed Queen. Manufactured by Alliance Laundry Systems in Ripon, Wisconsin, Speed Queen is the closest thing to what old Maytag used to be. They build residential machines on the exact platform they use for commercial laundromat units. A Speed Queen washer weighs 196 pounds compared to 135 for a typical competitor. That 61-pound difference is metal, where everyone else uses plastic. Their machines are tested to last 10,400 cycles, roughly 25 years at 8 loads per week. Yale Appliances reliability data ranks Speed Queen number 1 with a 3.7% first-year service rate, the lowest of any name they track. You will pay around $1,400 instead of $900, but you will likely never buy another washer in your lifetime. Third, consider Miele or Bosch. Miele is a family-owned German manufacturer that has been building appliances since 1899 and tests every model for the equivalent of 20 years of daily use before approving it for production. Bosch offers comparable German build quality at more accessible price points, with independent data showing 20 to 25% fewer repairs in the first 5 years. You will pay more for either manufacturer, but you are paying for durability, not a decades-old advertising character. The Maytag story is not just about appliances. It is a warning about every heritage brand in your house. Frederick Maytag learned from his failed Cornhusker that durability was not negotiable. His successors learned that acquisitions could grow revenue faster than honest manufacturing could. The lonely repairman is no longer lonely. He is just fictional. Do not let a familiar name take your money for a product that was designed in a boardroom instead of on a factory floor. Check who actually builds the machine. Check where it is assembled. And never pay extra for a logo when you can pay that money for steel. If you found this investigation fascinating, hit subscribe for more stories like this one.